very excited to be here this morning. Good morning and Happy New Year. My name is Nickie. I'm a member of the congregation, trustee on the board, and I'll be your service leader this morning. I'll be joined at the pulpit this morning by Chris Jewell, Pat Knight, Amy Stauber, and David Troutman and Barbara Hatzfeld. We were going to be joined by Jesse Walters, but he couldn't be here. You'll find at the end of your order of service some announcements, so I ask you to please take a look at those, see what's happening in the congregation and church this week. And we have some announcements from members of the congregation. So we'll start with Frank Smith, and Barbara will bring the mic to you.
I'm just advising that the food gang, the group that brings you the congregation dinners that we have over the season, will be meeting immediately after service right back in that corner. I'm reminding the food gang members of that. Don't get strung out talking with your neighbors or anything nasty like that. And anybody who wants to know what we're doing or would like to be involved in any way is more than welcome. Right there in that corner immediately after the service.
Sam?
I just wanted to report that we collected $435 for the Children's Home Society, and they have written thank you notes, and I'll have them in this all over.
Bob Tomlinson?
Good morning. Whenever you get a crowd in front of you, you start doing some marketing. Here I am. I'm not going to do the corny Superman trick again. But there's a great announcement here in the, how do I do it? Yeah. And it tells all the details. It gives you all the details on the parade. Nice thing about this parade, if you've ever been in any other walking parade, you can be absolutely sure you won't have to detour around the horse manure in this one, because we don't have any horses. So it should be a more comfortable one. Now, the little green pamphlet mentions that there's going to be donuts and bagels and coffee, etc. And as a result, we'd like to get a notion of how many people will be coming next Saturday. I have a pad here, and I can just jot down names. It isn't a commitment, it's just to give us a round figure, because we don't want anybody to go without a donut. Well, last year, of the 67 participants, it took somewhere like an hour and a half, and it starts at 10. And but you can be held up. You can be held up. And how you'll find us is we're going to have the yellow shirts. Now, apparently we're down to 3 shirts, but if you wish, Judy Pratt will take your name, and the shirt by Judy Bonner that we'll have them by next Saturday. And also there's caps. And this is just to, let the folks know that we're a unified group. Looking for you on Saturday.
Thanks, Bob. And Judy?
I'd like to tag on to that for a second. If anyone has a large, coffee urn, something to keep coffee warm, we could use a couple. So anyway, and what I'd like to talk about is our food bank. We're rededicating our food bank, which goes to the Lake Park Food Pantry. And it's going to be in honor of Marilyn Helgeson, who was a long-term member here and who started the food bank many years ago at our church. We haven't been doing too well with it. The same few people seem to bring food every week, and other people just, I don't know why. Anyway, when I go to Publix, I just buy a 2-for-1, and that's it. Anyway, I made up some magnets. They're not beautiful, they're handmade, so but you can take one and pass the box around. You can take one, put it up on your fridge, and maybe that'll help you to remember to bring something for the food bank. Thank you.
Do be aware that Harry Order, who picks it up, has been away out of the country for a whole month, so that's why we have so much.
Thank you all. Any other announcements? If you're a visitor this morning and you'd like, we invite you to introduce yourself. Tell us, maybe share where you're from. You can stand and Barbara will bring the mic to you. Any visitors this morning?
We're kind of visitors, but we've been visiting for the last 4 years. We're back for a month with Beth and Bob Champagne. So it's wonderful to see all of our friends here again, and we'll be seeing you for the next 4 or 5 seconds. Thanks for the warm welcome.
Hi, my name is Louise Duda. I'm from Vermont, and I'm just trying to see if the church is a good fit for me.
Welcome.
Hi, my name is Beverly, and I'm visiting with my friends Lynn and Bob Tomlinson, and I'm from Canada.
Welcome.
I'm Mark, and this is my wife Leslie Markowitz. We're here from the frigid north in Hobe Sound, Florida.
Welcome all. Our chalice lighter this morning is, I'd like to invite Elizabeth Shine up to light our chalice. She's our newest board member. Our chalice lighting words are by Deborah Burrell of the Unity Church of Birmingham, Alabama, and you'll find them in your order of service. And join us in the words, call Elizabeth Bryson chalice. Fire consumes and
Cast a bright light. May our chalice flame consume our regrets in the past, our fears about the future, and our worries about today. May it light us and have joy and peace. 1974. I was just 11 years old, and my father and I had been attending a Methodist church in downtown West Palm Beach, which is now City Place. And I believe that building is now the Harriet Himmel Theater, which is a beautiful learning building, spires, and all that great stuff. And diagonally across the street is a very nondescript, one-story, old-style Florida building with a parking lot in front. And that is where this congregation was located at that time. I believe the space is now a closed Macy's department store, for those of you who know the area. But my father had heard that a sermon was being preached by a man named Wally Argo, and he decided that we were going to try it out one Sunday. Again, you're in 1974, right? So we walk in, and remember coming from a Methodist church where people still wore suits to church. You had ladies with flowery hats sometimes. You had all these very prim and proper things. And you walk into a UU church and say, wow, what a different group. Now, I confess, I don't remember a lot of details about that day, but over the years, I do remember hearing some fantastic speakers. Speakers of the day, speakers of UU's, Forest Church, Waliardo, Halverson. But remember, this was long before you had cell phones in your pocket. You didn't have tablet computers. And being a bored young teenager, really all you can do is grab this hymnal and start thumbing through it. And if you go through the first couple of pages, as listed in your order of service and anywhere else, you'll find the 7 principles. Everyone here has a unique story on how you got here today, how you got here to this place and this hour. The service today will be asking people from our congregation, not ministers, not officers or anything like that, but just people from our congregation to come up and briefly share a story about one of those 7 principles. Simply, what does it mean to you and how did it impact your life? Now, I want to warn you, this, despite Nickie's best efforts, has not been rehearsed. We've only been conversing on email. None of us knows what the other is really going to say and or do. So I'm sure it will be diverse and unique, which is one of the things I love about this congregation. So I have the honor of kicking us off on the first UU principle. The first UU principle is the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Now, we don't officially have a ranking of those 7 principles, but I do believe there's a reason why this principle is listed first. Simply, it doesn't matter where you come from, even the frigid north of Stewart. Pardon me. It does not matter who your parents are. It does not matter what race or gender you identify. It does not matter how you have succeeded or how you have failed in life. You are welcome here. We value you as a human being. You have the right to be respected, and you have the responsibility to respect others. Both Unitarians and Universalists have a long history of accepting and respecting all. Not just the educated, not just the rich, not just loyalty. Even our flaming chalice is a cup that all can take part. It is a light for all to share. Now, UUs aren't the only ones who recognize the power of this and hold these words in such high esteem. You might recognize words from the U.S. Declaration of Independence. You know this, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed, blah, 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 all that good stuff. You know, a lot of those founding fathers were really UUs. And some of them were Universalists or Unitarians. So for me, knowing this first principle, it compels me
It drives me to greet every guest, love every family member and or friend, and respect every stranger. No matter if it's Sunday here in the sanctuary, or any other day, or any other place. The first principle guides me to respect others. Each person is important, even the ones I don't always agree with. Thank you.
Chris. Now is the time in our service where we take a moment of silence and meditation, followed by an opportunity to light a candle at the table to the right pulpit for a joy or concern you may have. I offer these words of meditation by Martha Munson with a quote from Angel. When Palin begins to play music, you may come up and light your candle. In this time of meditation, may you rest in the grace of the world and be free. In weakness, may you sense the strength of the eternal hills and rest in the grace of the world. In failure, may you be upheld by the buoyancy of water and rest in the grace of the world. In limitation, may you remember that the choices may be as great as the expanse of the sky and rest in the grace of the world. In insecurity, may you feel the solid earth beneath your feet and rest in the grace of the world. In fear, may you feel the warmth of the sun and rest in the grace of the world. In despair, may you hear the joy of birds singing and rest in the grace of the world. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free.
The second principle, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Justice, the principle of moral rightness. Equity, a Jewish family, but I didn't have any religious training. But I was brought up with strong values and knew what was right and wrong. I was never comfortable with organized religion. I tried, but I had the feeling that there was too much hypocrisy and selfishness. The world, especially now, seems to have forgotten what compassion and justice and equity are. But at the UU, I feel it is alive and well. Many of us try to walk the walk, not just talk the talk. May I say that the walk is the 13th. We have so many opportunities to make a difference, reaching out into the community in support of social justice. There is so many needs for volunteers, both here at the UU and in the community. Depending on your experience, you can donate a few hours a week to an organization or a charity that has meaning for you. And as they say, you get more value in volunteering than what you give. So I say unto you, go out and spread the second principle.
Principle number 3, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. I am a seeker. My soul longs for experiences that make it expand and grow. It took me a while to find it, but Unitarian Universalism is the spiritual home that encourages and supports my growth. I have embraced the challenge to define my own spiritual practices and beliefs and let go of the rigidity that I thought defined religion. I am free. Free to explore and play and experiment with my fellow seekers. Currently, I have resurrected images of Mary from my Catholic upbringing and have created a little shrine to the divine feminine on the corner of my desk. The yoga studio where I practice and teach has images of the Hindu god Hanuman, the destroyer of obstacles, on its altar. I recently celebrated the winter solstice as well as Christmas. I support this congregation's decision to provide sanctuary for the dreamers if and when it's needed. The possibilities for deepening my spiritual growth are endless, and the choice is mine. What a gift. I'm so grateful for our inclusive and expansive notion of faith and religious practice. I am so grateful for this congregation, this supportive and loving community. On Christmas Eve, Reverend Dan spoke not only of the biblical Christian story of the birth of Jesus, but he also included an explanation of the importance of Jesus' birth to Muslims and how they celebrate Jesus as a great prophet. We shared the Christian practice of communion with matzah. I can be no other religion. I must be able to celebrate all people, all traditions, all the ways humanity has striven for millennia to be better. Embracing UUism has healed the rejection and judgment in my religious past and led to exponential spiritual growth. That kind of healing is something I think the whole world needs. Our minds may be limited in what they can hold and understand, but our souls can grow infinitely. And as a UU, I'm learning that my soul is bigger than I thought it was. With the support of the beloved community, it's big enough, flexible enough, and brave enough to embrace the complexity and the diversity of humanity.
Please stand as you are able and join us in hymn number 203, All Creatures of the Earth and Sky. We now take an offering that allows us to exercise a generosity of spirit, an offering that will support this self-supporting church and its many ministries. The gifts of the congregation will be most gracefully received. Ushers, if you will, please take the offering. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and service is its law. This is our great covenant. To love together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
My partner, Jesse Walters, got called into work this morning, so he could not read his principle, but he gave it to me. So I'm going to see if you accept my willing suspension of disbelief. Hi, I'm Jesse Walters. And I'll be speaking on principle number 4, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Many Unitarians come to our faith from other religious traditions. While some people sour on organized religion and simply quit or stop believing in a higher being and see no need for church attendance, Unitarian Universalists feel a spiritual itch and need that we often cannot fully articulate. We spend much of the time we devote to spiritual endeavors attempting to explore this need that we feel. We often go to extra effort to explore other religions and their beliefs as a way of making sense of the world and our own spiritual needs. We pride ourselves in teaching our children in our religious education lessons not just what Unitarians believe, such as our 7 principles, but what people believe who adhere to the tenets of Buddhism, Judaism, and Christianity. We explore what it means to be a humanist or even an atheist, like myself and my mother before me. And just as important to me, this curiosity about spiritualism seems to extend to an insatiable, lifelong quest to learn more about almost everything. We use love to read, learn, and perhaps most of all, talk. That's true. May we all continue to do our best not to judge or condemn other beliefs, and learn and consider everything we can about others, spiritualism, and the wider world. I'll be back later as me.
Thanks, Jesse. 5th principle, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. The right of conscience is a political right that protects people's ability to do what they believe is morally best. That we hold that protection as part of our 5th principle says a lot about the high esteem we hold for personal autonomy. Along with the freedom of using the democratic process for governing our congregations, Unitarian Universalism is singularly unique in allowing individuals the right to speak their minds and influence decisions in their religion. Decisions and actions, great and small, are made based on the equal rights we are provided within our congregations. My mother began attending the local UU church on Long Island when I was around 12. The freedom to choose a spiritual belief system and the ability to participate in congregational life provided my mother with the community she longed for and a way to share with myself and my brother the values that she held as critical in being valuable citizens. She surrounded us with like-minded people, polar opposite in their thinking from her family of Republican Catholics, so that we may learn to be open in our thinking and generous in our behavior. The democratic foundation that Unitarian Universalism is built on, and that I witnessed as I grew up in the church, has provided me with these understandings. That the freedom we hold in American society is something to be cherished and for which we should be ever grateful. And that so we may continue to enjoy these freedoms and rights, participation within congregation and within society is a personal responsibility. When we vote, whether it's at our annual meetings or on election day in November, we do so as an individual with our own values and opinions behind the vote. But the value I've learned as a UU and what this principle embodies for me is that my vote, individual and solitary as it may be, is cast in an effort to help, to improve, and to support my community. Please join in hymn number 128, For All That Is Our Life.
The sixth of our Unitarian Universalist principles is calls on us to affirm and promote the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. An old activist, Fran Phoebe, used to travel the world's beaches in the 70s and 80s with a simple sign that read, International Programs of the UUA, Unitarians, Universalists, and Unitarian Universalists around the world are connected through a story of bold, compassionate faith that we have been creating together for centuries, struggling for human rights alongside those that demand it, influencing governmental policy in the name of justice, passionately promoting a message of interfaith peace and solidarity, and building faithful, worshiping communities. Each of us has a part and a stake in the story we share. I have joined Peace, the people engaged in active community efforts, as a way to follow this principle. Peace is an organization made up of 19 congregations from throughout Palm Beach County. Founded in 1991, we use the power of large numbers of organized people to solve critical community problems. We're not a direct service provider, rather we are a grassroots direct action multi-issue organization. Beginning in 2015, we worked to get local law enforcement agencies to give children who commit first misdemeanors a second chance instead of an arrest. Arrests for minor misbehaviors will haunt our children for life, making it difficult for them to get jobs, receive scholarships to college, find housing, and enter the military. Because of our work on this problem, 200 fewer children were arrested in Palm Beach County in 2016, saving their futures and valuable taxpayer dollars. At our action on April 3rd, 2017, Mayor Arroyo said yes to West Palm Beach giving out civil citations for appropriate misdemeanor domestic violence cases, and some second and third time misdemeanors. In 2014, we began working on a campaign to address injustice experienced by immigrants. That July, we got our sheriff to stop honoring the ICE detainment requests, meaning that ICE could no longer deport people from the county jail. And in 2016, after a 2-year campaign, we got the sheriff's office to establish a written policy accepting counselor IDs as a valid form of identification. As a result, in 2016, an estimated 156 people were taken to jail for the sole offense of driving without a license, saving their dignity and taxpayer dollars. At our action on April 3rd, 2017, we asked our county commissioners to fund a local nonprofit, the Legal Aid Society, to create and administer a community ID program. This will enable those whose countries do not issue a consular ID to have an accepted form of identification. 2 commissioners out of the 7 said yes. We are having meetings with these other commissioners so we can get enough support to bring the program to a commission meeting. We have a homelessness crisis in Palm Beach County. There were over 4,000 homeless children. The healthcare districts report 8,000 homeless people accessed their clinics last year. At our action, we asked the county commissioners to hire someone whose sole job is to address this homelessness crisis. Asked this person a goal of adding 300 new homeless beds a year beginning in 2018. 4 of our commissioners said yes. Our next step is to decide on a commission meeting date to get this on their agenda. This is a brief summary of some of the ways that First Unitarian Universalist of the Palm Beach is working on the goal of world community.
And last but not least, our 7th principle, respect for the interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part. A few months ago, I presented a worship service which included a guided meditation that took us on a journey to let go of the various ways we identify ourselves, our roles, responsibilities, our connections to others, and explore the core and essential nature of each of our beings. That exercise allowed us the opportunity to see how our many interconnections that bind us together, but at the same time demonstrating that when they were all stripped away, we are all still essentially one and the same. So from the introspective to the expansive, in elementary school, when I was in elementary school, and learning the planets and about our solar system, learning the idea of space, the idea of infinity or expansive space and how large is space got very, freaked me out a lot. And it still freaks me out, which is part of thinking about the seventh principle helps me. You think about the planets in our solar system, so there's our solar system, and then there's a wider universe. So that's a defined space. But what's beyond that? There's a bigger space. And if I think, okay, well, there's a big box where everything's contained, but there's something beyond the box, and it keeps going and going, and how does that make any, well, it makes sense, but it goes on and on and on and ad infinitum, but it's all part of one big whole saying that goes on forever. And one part of it can't exist without the other. All the parts are an essential part of the whole, and they all flow together, and they're connected, and an action in one piece causes a ripple that affects others. So it just spirals, and it gets me very, freaked out. So, but this interdependent web of connection that encompasses and informs everything from the very smallest molecule to the eternity of space and time, that's expressed either as the spirit of life, the ground of all being, the oneness of all existence, the community-forming power, our process of life, the creative force, God in many forms. It can help us develop the social understanding of ourselves that we and our culture so desperately need. It is our solution to the seeming